the ad hoc committee on the proposed residences at Sportsman's Lodge. And I'll do roll call. Barry Johnson, I'm here. Peter Cole.
Here.
Marcia Newman is excused. Adele Slaughter.
Here.
Gail Steinberg is excused. Melanie Winter.
Here.
And Scott Mandel.
Present.
Thank you. So we have a quorum. And I'm going to skip approval of minutes because I don't have them done yet. I've just been too busy, and I'm going to move on to number 3, update by the committee chair. I think you all probably know the hearing for this, the initial hearing officer hearing for this project is for Monday morning, November 21st. So it is a week from this coming Monday. And therefore, what we send into this hearing officer needs to get to him the day after the board meeting on a week from tonight. So on the 16th, so on the Thursday, the 17th, assuming the board passes it, it would be sent to the hearing officer. So he has it for, at least has it for Friday before the Monday morning meeting. That's pretty much my update for right now. I'll go to number 4, public comments on non-agenda items within the committee's jurisdiction. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda items? If you do, you can raise your hand or press *9. Go ahead, David.
Hi, thank you very much. I'm David Wheatley, a stakeholder in Toluca Lake, also with land use in Silver Lake. And I would just like to point out the obvious, which is our foes, those of us on the preservation side, are up against, in many cases, the development side, which I refer to as our foes, who are well-capitalized, motivated by self-interest, a fundamental DNA and genetic principle of human behavior. They're also well-equipped with attorneys. They're able to persuade, in quotes, politicians to give them the variances that they request. And they're also very good at coming up with laws, ideally from other cities like Sacramento, that affect us in the form of SB 9, SB 10. They find ways to oppress us and to reduce the tools that we have to fight back, such as California Environmental Quality Act. So all we have left basically are the freedom fighters, the public in committees like this, neighborhood councils, and committees to keep bringing it and use our rights to freedom of speech. I think respectfully, not everybody agrees, but that's the way I try to do it. And I encourage everybody here to continue to go for it and go for it and go for it and never give up and never let them win. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else, raise your hand or press *9. Go ahead, Tess.
Hi, Barry. I thank you. I thank the chair. I've just arrived at this meeting, this very important meeting. Are we on public comment, please?
Yeah.
On non-agenda items?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I agree wholeheartedly and 100%, 100,000, 10 million% with David Wheatley, the prior commentator. We have to really keep an eye on these overdevelopments, which are so intrusive to communities, and with this fraud, and I don't use that word lightly, of housing. The need for housing is completely inflated over and above what is really, really needed. When a community is full, when it's at capacity, there's no basis for further development like this. There's no basis for shoving 3 homes or 5 units or 10 units onto a single family home parcel, as we are seeing done right before our very eyes, SB 9 and SB 10. I believe the whole housing crisis, quote unquote, has been manufactured in order to benefit developers and builders. And we have weak and conflicted politicians who have enabled this to occur. What we're seeing now is the fallout of this very, very bad policy making. I got involved quite vigorously in recent years when I began to see the crushing legislation that came down upon us under the guise of, quote, emergency legislation during COVID, when the entire state of California shut down. There was nothing emergency about this emergency legislation other than a legislature that was taking advantage of a society that was in a panic over COVID in order to push through this legislation that we're seeing the effects of today. So I look forward to commenting on further items. We have to really pay attention and be vigilant to what's happening in our society. This is not just in California, but it's particularly in Los Angeles with such high real estate values. There's no basis for shoving more and more development into this area when there's plenty in outlying areas. And I thank the chair, and I will continue to comment on further agenda on other items on the agenda as they arise. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on a public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing no other hands, I'll move on to number 5. Do we have any responses from committee members to anything that was said? Seeing no hands, I will move on to number 6. And for number 6, we're going to use the timer. Everyone will have 1 minute that raises their hand. Number 6 is discussion and motion for the November 16th SCNC board meeting with respect to the proposed residences at Sportsman's Lodge project at 12805 Ventura Boulevard, Studio City 91604. And I have a proposed motion to offer the committee, and this motion an attached letter. The motion is a page. The attached letter is 7 more pages. And this is going to the hearing officer. This was written towards the hearing officer because he is the first person hearing this case, and our case, this committee case needs to be made with this person, but we will copy it to our council members as well as the full city planning commission. And I will read it, the 1-page motion. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, opposes Los Angeles City Planning Department case number CPC-201-2-DB-MCUP-WDI-SPP-SPR-DHCA, unless the height is a total of the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard corridor specific plans, in parentheses, VCBCSP, by right allowable height of 30 feet plus the Los Angeles Municipal Code Ordinance number 179681 density bonus on menu, in parentheses, by right, density bonus of 11 additional feet to provide for the density bonus units restricted to very low income households, for a total of 41 feet. Furthermore, the SCNC opposes requests for any off-menu waiver or modification development standard or standards that would have to be approved by the City Planning Commission, CPC, including a request for these 7 off-menu incentives at the site. 1, an off-menu incentive to allow a maximum floor area ratio, FAR, of 2.83 to 1 in lieu of the otherwise permitted 1.0 to 1 FAR. This is in excess of the 35% increase permitted under LAMC section 0.25A, 0.25F, and 4. Number 2, an off-menu incentive to allow a maximum building height of 94 feet in lieu of the otherwise permitted 30 feet plus the additional 11 feet granted by LAMC section 12.25A.25F5 for a total of 41 feet. 3, an off-menu incentive to allow 402 accessible standard vehicle parking stalls in lieu of the otherwise required 520 accessible standard parking stalls. 4, a waiver to allow 0-foot side yard setbacks in lieu of the otherwise required 10-foot yard setbacks as required by LAMC section 12.22C.20. 5, a waiver to waive the otherwise required transitional height requirements as established by LAMC section 12.21.1A.10 for buildings in a C or M zone within certain distances of an RW1 or more restrictive zones, including OS zones. 6, a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance between main buildings in lieu of the otherwise required distance. 7, a waiver to allow a 0-foot rear yard setback in lieu of the otherwise required 20-foot rear yard setback as required by LAMC section 12.11C.3. The off-menu items that the CPC would have to approve go completely against the Ventura-Cahuenga Boulevard corridor specific plans, neighborhood, and general commercial plan designations. The least developed of the 3 designations within the VCBCSP. A land use designation which is a focal point for surrounding residential neighborhoods and containing a diversity of land uses, such as restaurants, retail outlets, grocery stores, child care facilities, small professional offices, community meeting rooms, pharmacies, religious facilities, and other similar services. Additionally, Ventura Boulevard has the Boulevard 2 street classification, but Coldwater Canyon Avenue has only the Avenue 2 classification, a much narrower roadway which carries the vehicle traffic between the entire valley and Beverly Hills and beyond. This is one of the busiest intersections along the entirety of Ventura Boulevard and is on the critical intersections list of the VCBCSP. The VCBCSP has the purpose to assure a compatible and harmonious relationship between residential and commercial development, where commercial areas are contiguous to residential neighborhoods, as well as assuring that an equilibrium is maintained between the transportation infrastructure and land use development in the VCBCSP and within each separate community of the Ventura-Cahuenga Boulevard corridor specific plan area. And the rest is the other 7-page letter. But that's all I'm going to read for now. And I will open it for public comment. And just to say, if this passes out of committee tonight, it will be heard by the full board next Wednesday night. And in that board agenda, there will be a link to this motion and the additional 7 pages, which really fortify all the points that I just made in the motion itself. So I'll start with public comment. Oh, first I have to ask, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
A second from Peter. I heard Peter first. Okay, thank you, Peter. And I'll go to public comment and go to Heidi McKay first.
Am I unmuted?
Yes,
Hello?
we can
Okay,
hear you.
hi.
Yeah,
Um,
and please
I-
try to keep to 1 minute.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the motion. However, I wish the motion was stronger about any kind of build there, at least at this, it's so egregious that I go to the Sportsman's Landing quite a bit, and every time I go into one of the shops and I ask them, do they know what's going in? They have no idea that the size of this and how much it's going to affect all the businesses. And those are stakeholders too. So I don't understand how the SCNC could support something like this, because it's going to just destroy the neighborhood behind it. It's going to destroy all those shops. There's no parking during the whole thing. So, I mean, there's just too much to mention, too much to list of all the reasons that the committee should absolutely support this motion. I just wish it were a little stronger, actually, but at least it's good for now. So I wholeheartedly support this.
Thank you, Heidi. And I will say, for all of our attendees tonight, I'm more than happy to send you the PDF containing the other 7 pages letter. And I believe a lot of what you just mentioned will be included in what you think maybe isn't there. So I will go on to Patty Kirby.
Hi. So I'm assuming that what I'm going to say is on the next 7 pages, but I just want to voice it. The fact that the Harvard Westlake project and this project are not being looked at in aggregate as to all their impacts is outrageous, and how important that is for the entire community. I can go on with the removal of over 400,000 yards of dirt and the resulting tens of thousands of truck trips necessary to transport that dirt from Studio City, mainly via Coldwater Canyon at the F-rated intersection. My calculation, or our calculation, is 75,000 truck trips. Valley fever is a definite possibility during curing up that much dirt. I have video, or we have video of dirt blowing everywhere during the shops at Sportsman's construction. They can't mitigate the environmental issues. I can go on, but I think others can join in on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, we did include Valley Fever. Thanks. Go ahead. Number ending in 674. Go ahead. Number, okay.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Barry, I suggest, this is Lisa Sarkin, I suggest that you read those final list of items that we added, so that everybody knows what was added from the emails and stuff that came from you, so they know that's there. Everybody's asking about that. But in the meantime, I will say that the Plan Review Board for the specific plan voted to support this motion. It's written in a way that, and has many pointed out issues that are in SB 1818 and also the specific plan. And this is just the very first little thing to go on. He will make a report, the hearing officer, from whoever testifies and whatever is sent in. So you get a lot of people to write emails and to attend this meeting. That's the important thing for now. Then that will go back to the planning department, and there'll be several other hearings later. But this is just the beginning.
Thank you. Going on to Tess Taylor.
Thank you, Barry. I think Peter Cole has his hand up. Did he want to go before me?
I'm going to hit committee members after.
I see. Okay, thank you. I have 1 minute, not nearly enough time, but I thank you for the time that I have. I would like to receive your 8-page memo or letter, Barry, if you would be so kind. I believe that the city should postpone any decision on this project until the lawsuit with the developer is settled. The planner needs to be pressed on that. And it would be great if you can send out a communication, Barry, or the Studio City Neighborhood Council could do so, what deadline we have in order to get our comments to the planner, if that's still open. It appears the developer may have neglected to tell the shops about the project next door, and the traffic will be deadly to Studio City. Patty Kirby points out a very, very important problem here, that looking at this in aggregate with the Sportsman, with the Harvard Westlake project, this is just going to be a huge disaster in terms of space, traffic, construction, dirt removal, trucks. This is just not a fit for Studio City. And I support any effort this committee makes and the neighborhood council to push this back. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Cameron.
Yes, hey, hi. I'm actually a business owner in the project, and they did represent something different than what they were going to do. They said they were going to keep the hotel, but that's kind of neither here nor there. I get at this point. But the one thing though is they were in violation of numerous things. So it seems on their original entitlement, and I'm not sure how much of that is being pressed in the discussions with the city. But like, for instance, they've pushed employee parking off, which they're not supposed to do. They're supposed to provide, I believe, lifts for if it's too much too much congestion. There's a few other things. So I think, looking at where they're violating the current entitlement for their current project, at least would show something about these, in terms of how they're behaving. But they are violating numerous things. So it'd be good to have somebody look into that information. Somebody look into that and put that as part of the process with the city, because these guys aren't even they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing to begin with.
All right, thank you. Going on to Lori Cohn.
Hi, Barry. Thank you for holding this. I definitely oppose this project, so I support the motion unless it can be stronger. They not only are not taking into consideration the other two projects on Ventura Boulevard, north and south sides between Whitsett and Coldwater, but the Weddington Behemoth project. And so there will be no way to drive down Ventura Boulevard between Whitsett and Coldwater. There's hardly a way to now. So it is so excessive. And for them to suddenly not only decide to knock down the hotel and now build this unbelievable amphitheater idea, this is just so beyond what should be allowed. And I don't know what politicians are in favor of this, but we want to know, because this is all such an incredible destruction of Studio City and the surrounding area. It's just way, way beyond what should be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Press *9 or raise your hand. And just before I go to committee comments, I want to do two things. One, I have everybody's email addresses except Tony, Jamie, Pam, and Catherine. If you would like the 8-page document PDF, send me an email. I will give you my email address and I will send you the PDF. The rest of you, I can send it to you because I know your email addresses. So Tony, Jamie, Pam, and Catherine, my email address, again, I'm Barry Johnson. My email address is B as in boy, so B Johnson, BJOHNSON 4166 at sbcglobal.net. Again, B Johnson 4166 at sbcglobal.net. And I'm going to read one other thing from one of the 7 pages that it's called List of Other Issues That Must Be Addressed. And there's a 11 of them. 1, excavation must be accompanied by a certified archaeologist. 2, require at least 1 additional loading dock on the east side of the property with access from Ventura Boulevard and a significant truck parking area. 3, consideration must be provided regarding the California law which orders Valley Fever training for construction workers. 4, proof of ability to build the parking structure completely underground. 5, prohibit trucks from street parking on Ventura Boulevard and Coldwater Canyon Avenue, as well as parking in the center turning lanes on each street. 6, move parking lot entrance arms at all driveways to at least 75 feet from the sidewalks. 7, restore setbacks front and rear on the property line. 8, require complete landscape buffer per the river improvement ordinance. 9, no apartments starting at the top of the flood control channel due to flood risk based on statistics from First Street Foundation, not FEMA. 10, which is a typo, it says 11 twice. 10, require a new traffic study because the 2020 COVID study does not reflect current day traffic. And 11, restore the requirement for an environmental impact report. Those are some of the things that were mentioned, but in the other 6 of 8 pages, there's even more. So I'm going to go now to Peter Cole to committee comments. Go ahead, Peter.
Hi, Barry. I haven't done this before, and I'm not a Zoomer, but I think it would do the group good to see the 3D model that I had created it actually drops into Google Earth so we can fly around it, and I can spin around and talk about different things. And if somebody wants to see a particular angle, I can do it. I want to give the backstory on it first. This was a request that I had for the developer to make a 3D model that we could see, because the artist renderings, well, they're pretty and all that. There were certain angles that I didn't see that would directly affect me. And I had asked Scott to ask the developer, Ben, and I think he did multiple times, if he could create such a 3D model. And there was either no reply or a no, I don't know which, but it never happened. So I took it upon myself to contract a professional architect to do that. And maybe you can help me, Barry, here. I don't know how to, if you can share my screen, I can go to my Google Earth and move around the cabin, as it were. How do you do that?
Let's see.
Barry, if you make him a co-host.
Okay, I'm making him a co-host.
Okay, so if I switch now, is that all that happens?
You should be able to screen share now.
Okay, do you all see that? Is there anything I need to do to screen share?
You have to go down to screen share.
Oops.
Hit the button, and then it comes up on your whiteboard, and hit share.
Okay, since I don't know any of this stuff, so talk me through it. Where is screen share?
At the bottom of the page, there's a green button, and it's called screen share.
Okay.
Click on that.
And share, and that's all I have to do? Now
That's
you see it?
You got it. Now
okay.
You got it.
So
we got it.
Okay. So let me go to, so you can see me move, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So before obviously, since I live right across the river over here, I'm the second house from the edge here. Obviously, I concentrate on what affects me, but Heidi had brought up that the store owners, they're also stakeholders, as is the developer. The store owners apparently did not know about this project. And so from that vantage point, let's see, I got to move some of this stuff out of the way. Look how close this project is to the shops on the right-hand side, okay? It's right up against it. And I can't fathom that I'm sorry, I wouldn't accept a lease if I knew this monster was coming up next to me, especially as it was advertised to me, this was a destination. Well, with this, obviously it's not going to be pink. With this size building under construction for 3 to 4 years, this is no destination. Also, you'll see that there's trees and whatnot poking through. That's just an artifact of dropping this into Google Earth. Let me call your attention on the riverside. The actual height of the project is closer to where the walkway is, and it's just a limitation of dropping this 3D model into something that has a fixed height. But let me see if I can get closer here. You can see how the hotel is dwarfed in the whole thing. And let me spin around this way. Oops, too far. I mean, this is an absolute monster. None of these trees are here. This is just an artifact of these beautiful, full-grown, mature trees popping through the model because there was nothing there. This is all solid. There's no trees. They're taking all that out. Anyway, I hope this gives you a better viewpoint. Let me go to Ventura Boulevard here.
Oh, leave it there just a second.
Oops,
because
sorry. Let me go back.
View, the parking lot hangover that you see there along the river, that parking lot hangover would be gone, and they would build the building down to the top of the river channel. So theoretically, if you had an apartment on that level, you could open your sliding door and walk right onto the bicycle path without a step even. So think about the flood ramifications.
Right. So let's talk a moment about what's on the river. What was, we were blindsided at the Ventura Cahuenga corridor plan review meeting by the developer announcing that there is, let me do it so I don't, so I get the words right. Proposed amphitheater for larger public gatherings. That was never mentioned before. And now all of a sudden that's part of the amenity. Anyway, so.
Do we know where?
Yeah, I think probably not that tiny building, but probably on the right hand, probably in front of where the if you're looking at the shops, it's the right hand group of stores, but at the river, somewhere in that locale, I think was something. But it's, once again, it's an amphitheater of some sort. It's hard to tell because we have no details, but it looked like concrete steps for people to gather pointed north. So just what we don't need is more hard surfaces pointing at the river. So my brain keeps going to these people that have set up shop here. You can see what it says 726. That is meaningless. It's just a marker. But this, I had asked multiple times for a sound buffer between these two buildings and some sound buffers, and I just got poker faced. Now I know why, because all these other buildings are going right up to the river. And then I oh my God, look how big this thing is. Anyway, let me go around to Ventura Boulevard. Right now next to Takaya, I'm not sure what that represents, if there's a building right up to it. You know, there are artifacts in this, but this is accurate. The plans from the city were given to the architect. So to his best of his ability, what was submitted to the city is what this rendering is. But that right now there's a driveway there. And I believe I might have misspoke at the Ventura Cahuenga specific plan and said that the trucks were going out Coldwater. I do remember it being Ventura, and there's 435 cubic yards of dirt that needs to be removed, and roughly an average is, I guess these trucks do 10 to 14 cubic yards. A developer who was protesting the Harvard Westlake project in the canyon, whose property was the closest one there, was saying that they don't take 12 yards or 14 yards. They take 10 yards at a time, those trucks, in order to deal with the scales. But I use 12 yards as a figure, and that comes out to about 75,000 truck trips, if my math is good. And that will be going right by Takoya and Civil Coffee. And all that, all of their outdoor dining space is gone. Not that anybody is going to want to be there during all this construction. So let me go around this side. I can tilt up. Anyway, if once again, the trees on the side, they're just poking through because they're so tall. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. If anybody wants to see this from a different vantage point, I can spin around.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, one more thing, Barry, and maybe we can spin back to this later. I do have some, I know you had asked for comments earlier, but I was slammed on some other projects, and I'd like to, one, I have notes that I made that are not land use laws or whatever. They're quality of life issues, and just those I think need to be added into this motion. I mean, they're I mean, it may be emotional, but these things that I've written down I think are important for stakeholders to have these things included, which I can read off later. And I'll yield the floor in a second here. Just, there are some things that I've seen on like page, I have some questions, and let's see, what page was it on? On page 4, there were some things that I thought didn't apply at all, so I questioned them being in here. And just in general, Barry, I know you had worked hard on this. I just want to make sure that this is something that will pass the board's raised eyebrow, because I'll be candid, because that's Peter. I know there's at least one board member that anything I say yes to, he will say no to. There's a little personal vendetta. I already have him on a Brown Act violation and some other things against me.
Get that off.
So anyway, I just want to make sure that this is all buttoned up tight so that the board doesn't just glaze over. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
I have a quick question before you get off.
Sure.
The height of this building is 94 feet at its highest? That's a question.
I believe that's what they're saying. So that's,
Yeah.
And it steps down?
yes.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like on Ventura Boulevard, it looks like the building's a little higher than street level. You see what I'm saying?
It could be, it's an artifact maybe because it's set back a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I've been told by the architect that the height is as correct as can be in this kind of environment. And he triple checked it for me because I made him go back and, are you sure? So unless something's changed that I don't know about, this is, I think, a really good representation.
Thanks, Peter.
Any other committee members at this moment? I'm going to go back to public comment because we have 2 more raised hands. Go ahead, Janine.
Janine, you're muted.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have to tell you, Peter, I'm almost speechless looking at the size of what this is and how unprecedented this would seem to me to be for Studio City. And I guess what's frightening to me is, as I have so much contact with this shopping center and have seen this parking lot get so out of control, and have seen the there be a genuine lack of safety there, that as well as a lack of even the developer even making sure that what is there, the rules that he agreed to are happening, like employees parking on the site or in the municipal lot. They are not. And the parking has been so poorly designed that I understand why why this developer would be allowed to even do something on this scale when what's currently been done is not safe.
Thank you, Janine. And let me just mention to Janine and I think Joanne joined us later. Joanne, I have your email address. I will send you the letter with the accompanying motion. So, because a lot of the things people are asking about are in the letter. So Janine, if you send me an email, I will send you that, the PDF, 8 pages. My email address is B as in boy, so B Johnson 4166 at sbcglobal.net. Again, B Johnson 4166 at sbcglobal.net.
And Barry, there's no period there.
There's no what?
There's no period between B and Johnson.
No.
Okay.
And before I go to caller ending in 674, Lisa, I just want to say that the hearing officer is only going to consider the facts. He's not going to consider emotions. But any of your emotions are the best thing to bring when you attend the hearing officer meeting. True, it would be better if we had it in person, but you can still stress those emotional points on the Zoom call. So, and when we get to the City Planning Commission, for sure, then. But in terms of what we submit, it's got to basically be by the facts. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that was one thing I was going to tell all of you. We have to have facts. Not only that, this is coming from the neighborhood council. The neighborhood council represents all the stakeholders of Studio City. So remind everybody to get everybody they can to get on this hearing, including maybe going over to the people that own the businesses there and get them on there. But here's the biggest problem. We now have a progressive council member. We didn't vote for her, but she is now the council member that's responsible for that position and that location. So that's number one. Number two, we have the state that we have to contend with all the ridiculous rules that they have now really geared towards Los Angeles more than any other city. They think that we need more housing, as somebody said before, even though they don't have any resources to support it. So we don't have any more elections now for another 2 years, and I don't know how long this project is going to take to get approved or not. But that's what everyone over there is up against. And also, you have to be very careful not to attack anybody at the meeting. You can give them the emotional representation, but believe me, they all know what could be possibly going on all at once. And frankly, I don't think that they take that into account at all. So the facts that are in the motion are taken out of the places that we could find things that needed, that we felt we could use to make this project at least tamped down a whole lot. But I honestly don't think it's ever going to be stopped. And there's no EIR for us to attack. So that's another part of this, to get them. You have to have the most people possible that you can get on this call. I hope it crashes it. That's the only thing you really can do. And to get and everyone should be everyone should be prepared to only speak for 1 minute, because they will cut you off. So test what you're going to say and put the most important things in the 1 minute.
Very true.
Okay,
Thank
great,
you.
thanks.
Go ahead, Heidi, and then I'll go to Peter.
I just had one more quick comment to say that basically the neighborhood council supported the landing, many years ago. If they support this, they are basically going to kill the landing, because I can assure you, I have spoken to probably half or not, if not more, of the store owners and managers, and they are devastated when they heard what is actually going to happen, and they are going to have virtually no business for several years, and it's just going to be a ghost town over there. So it would just be detrimental to the landing that the neighborhood council supported. So they should absolutely support this motion and not support this egregious development, and duplicitous too, as you know. They were not honest, and there are lawsuits. So that's all.
Thank
just one
you.
last point.
Yes, spread the word to the business owners. Any stores you go in.
I have been.
Go
I've
ahead.
been telling them all, and
Okay.
and they're just their faces just drop open when they hear about it. They're really quite stunned. So.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Pam Friedman. We'll do Pam and then Tess, and then we'll go back to Peter.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Tess.
good.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here. I'm here.
Pam.
Yeah,
Okay.
we met some time ago with the people over there, and my question to them was, what about this and the Ventura Boulevard plan and the height restrictions and the scope of it? They, I can't give it to you right now, the chapter and verse that they reiterated as to how they were going, how they justified this mammoth thing going in. But somewhere they got approval, or they got some idea that they would get approval to build 94 feet, et cetera, and all of the rest of the things that they continue to add, including now an amphitheater. I'm curious as to who it is in City Hall or building and safety or planning or whomever is giving them some direction that would allow for them to spend the money to continue to build this thing out if it's not going to be available for them to do that. So do we have any idea how they're getting the idea that they can do this?
Yes, we do, because various state laws have been passed for density, and they unfortunately supersede the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard specific plan, which is a city specific plan. And the specific plan can't be attacked by any municipal ordinance, but it can be usurped by state law, and that's what has happened. And they have certain things they can now get, which would be, the specific plan says 30 feet height. They can get for sure 11 additional feet density bonus. But then everything else, the 7 items that I mentioned, and this is also in the hearing notice, they are asking for 7 things. And those 7 things are items that the planning department or the city planning commission has to okay. So that's what we are saying now. we don't want them to okay because of the surrounding community that's almost entirely residential on all sides, except for a narrow Ventura corridor. So that's why they can ask for these 7 additional things.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tess.
Thank you, Barry. Has a meeting notice, a hearing date been set? I can't find that in the materials that you forwarded. And I would encourage you, whatever the date is, to make sure that people have plenty of advance notice and that some of this is crunched down into sort of pedestrian language for people who aren't as familiar with all of the terms as possible. But the nice lady who phoned in with the phone number ending in, what was it? Sorry, who just spoke a few moments ago, 674, is precisely right, that no attacks should occur and that we should stick to the facts, but the emotions in the right place are very, very good. I will help to spread the word within our community. And you know how ferocious I am about this, Barry. With enough advance notice and some facts, we will arm people to attend this hearing because this is outrageous. And the aggregate impact of this must be considered. And last but not least, the item on how is this happening? What, if anything, does the redistricting have to do with this? Because this was in Krikorian's district prior to the redistricting taking effect on January 1st of this year. It's now with Nithya Raman. Is there any, I guess, how has that redistricting affected this project, the approvals, and how this is moving forward would be my question, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, all I can say is in terms of redistricting, the Attorney General is looking at what perhaps was conspired for the district boundaries. And if he or the courts decide to pursue it, they could possibly throw out the whole redistricting and start over. So who knows what district all or part of Studio City would end up in then. But even if that happens, it's not going to change for quite some time. And in the meantime, this hearing is going to happen, and the City Planning Commission meeting will happen not too long after. So we have to just go with where we're at right now.
Are those hearing dates set, please, Barry?
Yeah, the hearing officer date is Monday, November 21st. And to all of you that I'm going to email or that you're emailing me, when I send you the document, I will also send you the link to the hearing notice for Monday, November 21st.
At what time?
I think
okay.
It's 10, but don't quote me. You'll see it in the notice. Anyone else right now? Okay.
I have some. I have some.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going back to committee members. Let me do Peter first. He had his hand raised first, I believe.
Hi there. If you notice on the bottom left-hand corner, that's the edge of the golf course. So to give you some perspective, and I believe it was in this SCIA document, they were talking about shadows. And at one time of the year, the shadow from this project extends all the way to pretty much the tip of where the golf course is. So it's pretty tall. Also, I can thank goodness for Zoom and that the Studio City Neighborhood Council records all these meetings and keeps them. We can go back and look what was said, but maybe it's going back to the alcohol approvals for this project. Somebody else might have more information on this than I do, but I believe that Erewhon was not considered a market in that whole thing. It was considered a restaurant. And there was some sleight of hand by doing it that way. Anyway, maybe somebody else can shed some light on that. Also, I was reading about parking lots, and parking lots that are for grocery stores, according to this one article I saw, they generally make the spots wider, which makes sense because you have to get a shopping cart in there and get in and out of the car with groceries. So maybe that's another reason why that was not considered. Also, on the emotional level, maybe it's not emotional; it's actually fact. I have an email all prepared, and I'm trying to figure out where to send it, of a conditional use permit violation for sound, and it's all documented. I've got videos, examples, and there's also Sportsman's. They're having an event, I think December 3rd, with a live DJ, which is also against the rules. So they keep doing it. I mean, they are bad neighbors. It's the discussions about the loading dock. It's all pushed off because they're having discussions with Nithya and whatever. It wasn't designed right. So I don't know how we can trust this developer to be forthcoming about what they're going to be building and to do the right thing, because they biffed it here. I mean, this loading dock's in the wrong place, not big enough, too close to Ventura. I know they didn't get the gas station, but they should have perhaps cut the back corner off the building so the trucks could circulate. That's pretty much it. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, Adele.
Hey, Peter, do you mind taking that thing off the screen? It's driving me crazy. I can't think straight. So I think that we absolutely have to add the cumulative impact of other planned construction onto that list, that has to be looked at. I know that when you do in CEQA, that's part of what CEQA asks people, developers to look at. And when you have the cumulative impact of taking out all that dirt and all those trucks, it's too much for the infrastructure. The streets they want to go on are like not streets that can handle that kind of traffic. And the other thing is, this piece of land I looked up is 6.9 acres. And now it's 6.9 acres. I mean, it is not carbon neutral project. And there's no place to put any trees. And I don't even know what trees they're going to be able to put in. And so that goes against our passing mayor's green plan, his evergreen, whatever he's calling it, plan. And I think we ought to put some stuff about trees, breathability, livability in Studio City. I don't know if that's factual enough for Lisa, but I do think that the cumulative impact of Sunswept, the bowling alley, and Harvard Westlake, all between Whitsett and Coldwater, is massive. And I think we can't ignore that. And I don't know what we could add about trees, but I mean, we can't have this much concrete going in here. It's just not doable. It's not sustainable. It's not a sustainable project. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. And we do have items in the document about adhering to the Rio and its, planting scheme. So anyone else? Last person is going to be Patrice. Go ahead, Patrice.
Oh, I had one other thing. I'm sorry. The guy who is on, who said that they had all these violations, is he still on?
Yeah.
Would you send us an email of all those violations so that we can put that, you know?
Sure. I have Barry's email, I think, because I just sent him an email to
Okay.
get the report from
Thank
him.
you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think you should have a list of like all the things they're violating in the current one, because it's like, how do you trust people like this? So.
Thanks. And let me just say one other thing before we go to Patrice, and that is the hearing officer will not consider adjacent projects unless they have been approved. And unfortunately, there are no adjacent projects that have been approved. So it's an emotional thing that is best verbalized by meeting attendees at this hearing, but not in our document, because he will not consider it. Go ahead, Patrice.
Hi, everybody. So most of you know I own the closest house across the river, and we've been through a lot with these developers over the years. But of course, I support this motion. But one thing that Adele just brought up about the trees, how does this work with the landing? They were required to put in the trees that they put in. So now with this new project, they have to pull out all those trees. How does that work if that was a requirement for the landing project? Lisa might be able to answer that, but that just doesn't make sense to me. And the whole thing with the fact that these store owners that have invested millions and millions of dollars, from what I understand, were not told that they were taking down the hotel. None of us were told that that was going to happen. They were remodeling it. So it's just a travesty for our neighborhood if this thing goes through. And if it does go through, the whole boulevard, all the way down to Lancashire, they're going to take advantage of it. So I really appreciate all the work you guys are all doing. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Barry, can I make one more comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, a couple. I'll try to make it quick. So the issue of parking, Lisa Sarkin had asked at the Ventura Cuenca specific plan a great question about where everyone's going to park during construction. And Ben Besley had answered, quote, primarily, they are going to have to go and find leased space off-site at one of the properties nearby or something like that, end quote.
I'm assuming he means the parking structure.
This is for the stores are going to have to find leased space, is my understanding. So you've got employees. This whole lot's going to be in chaos for a while until they tear the hotel down. And my understanding, that's going to be temporary parking at one point. But they also have to excavate for this 3-story underground garage on the north side. And right now they're way over capacity. Midday, I have a comprehensive video and pictures of the lot that's totally full. I walked through the whole thing, and just about every space is full on multiple days. So they're at 500 plus cars, and they're actually asking for a reduction of the amount of parking, and they don't even have enough as it is. Anyway, that's me. I don't know what you do with that one, but this is just such a showstopper. I would think that the developer would have to have a comprehensive parking plan in place for each stage of construction as part of a condition. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no more, we'll close comments and vote. I guess I'll do roll call vote. Barry Johnson, I'm a yes. Adele? We'll come back to Adele. Peter?
Yes.
Melanie? Adele?
Yes.
And Melanie?
Yeah.
Thank you. The motion passes. This will be on the board agenda a week from tonight. The meeting starts at 7. And again, for anybody that wants the document, I will email it to you. Just send me an email. B as in boy, Johnson, BJOHNSON 4166 at sbcglobal.net. I will send you the PDF, and I will also send you the link to the LA City Planning Department's hearing notice. So thank you. Going on to number 7. Do we have any comments from committee members on subject matter within the committee's jurisdiction? Seeing none, I'll move on to number 8, closing comments. Just again, next Wednesday night, the meeting starts at 7, and I hope everyone can attend the hearing on Monday the 21st. And once you get, if you don't have the hearing notice, when I email it to you, please spread the word around. The more people on that call, the better. So I will now go to number 9, adjournment. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Peter. All right, thank you all. And I'm going to get busy on my emails right now and get this stuff sent out. So thank you all very much.
Thanks,
and
Barry.
Good night.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you. All right.
Good night.
Good night.